Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Politdigm podcast. My name is Red, and today I'm joined by my co-host Alpha.
Hello, everyone.
And today is episode 5. Is it 5?
Let
I
me
think.
check.
Check out episode 5. Regardless, today is the
Yeah, it's episode 5. We are extremely professional here.
yeah. Today is the last month of July, July 31st. And this episode is coming out on the 2nd, I think, right? Yeah, tomorrow is the 1st, and yeah, the 2nd. I know how
Yeah.
to count days. I'm a grown-up. I'm an adult. That's actually true somehow. It's still weird to me that I'm an adult. But yes, today, as always, there's a blog that came out, and today's blog is about, or this week's blog is about the environment. It is something that we here at Politdigm are very passionate about. I mean, we have a whole project based off of it, right? Which is Project Green Event Horizon, which basically tackles exactly what the blog post is about, which is the fact that we believe, and it's not just that we believe, it's true, that for the last like 20 years, or at least me and Alpha's entire childhood, we were sold this idea that that the environmental problems could be solved in a way which is bullshit. It's not really true. It's trying
Yeah.
to diverge the attention to the real issue, which is the fact that corporations emits around 71% of the entire pollution that we produce, which is insane. I mean, and the big corporations, I mean, like it's like the top 100. So yeah, so when you consider that, there isn't just 100 fucking corporations in the world, then you start getting a real understanding of how big of an issue it is.
Yeah.
The blog basically touches on facts like that, these statistics showing that, a tremendous amount of pollution is caused by corporations, and also the fact that a lot of these corporations are the ones that also are investing in selling this idea of a personal carbon footprint, which is this idea that, if you recycle enough, if you have an electric car, if you all do all these things, that you will fix global warming. Whilst of course we still support those ideas, because obviously they're, part of becoming a sustainable economy and a sustainable civilization. We also need to recognize that those aren't, like a magic solution to our problems, because the magic solution to our problems is to actually just stop, like oil extraction and burning oils and all that bullshit, which, destroys our planet.
Yeah.
And we've been told to basically forget that, or that, anytime that anybody tries to really push that idea, they always sort of be like, no, 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 you are wrong. What you need to worry about is the straws and killing turtles, which obviously I don't want to murder turtles. Turtles didn't do anything wrong, as long as
I
I
mean,
mean,
ah,
turtles didn't kill my dad. Wait, what?
Jesus Christ.
I
Okay.
killed my dad. Wait, what?
Uh,
Uh,
we went off the rails really quick there, so
that
let's
was that
get
was a
back on
joke.
topic.
I'm not a murderer. No, I'm joking. But no, but like for example, that's what I think that's an important thing to remember in this conversation. That's bit
If
of a
you're not a
warning I want to
murderer,
give. Uh, God damn it, Alpha. No, it's just that when we say that
destroy it.
it's not the magic solution, right? It is important to remember that regardless of it, you shouldn't just discard it. You shouldn't just be like, all right, I'm gonna like buy a tremendous like a diesel burning monster truck for no reason, just because it's the big oil's fault and not my fault.
That
Obviously,
is
all of us.
redundant. Like, oh, it's not my fault, but I'm still going to make the problem exist.
Yeah, no, but like the thing is, like obviously we have way less impact as individuals than we actually think, right? And we have a lot less impact on the environment than we think, because obviously we can never, compete with with an entire oil drilling rig. But the
Yeah.
reality is that unfortunately, in the last couple of years, instead of ramping down production of oil or the extraction of oil and all these different things, it's actually happening more. Like, pardon me, sorry. for example, the biggest critique I've seen recently is, for example, the fact that we critiqued a lot of Trump a lot on, for example, coal industry and all that stuff. But the reality is that in during Biden's time in the office, he has approved more oil mining, oil extraction permits than Trump ever did in his 4 years. Obviously, that's not like saying, "Oh yeah, Trump was amazing." No, he's a piece of shit. Um, but the reality is that, you can't really be like, oh yeah, Biden was, the magical help that we needed, because he's done even worse. So that's not great. I mean,
Yeah.
mostly when it comes to like the Willow projects, when I heard that shit, I was like, well, we're doomed. That's cool. Yeah, that's great. We're fucked. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
TLDR, it's not great.
but yeah, it's not really, that shit is horrendous. And the reality is that, the only reason with the real thing that we need to remember is that we know how to fix all these problems. We have the know-hows and we have the ability to do it. The fact is that these companies, these large companies that all they want is money, they don't want to change their
Capitalism,
practices.
like,
They don't want to change their practices because it's for them much more profitable to not change than actually change. The thing that
yeah.
I don't understand, which is something that we've touched on several podcasts so far, is that if the planet is fucking, unlivable by humans, when will that money matter? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Do you
such a
think they care? Like, there is something that I always go back to whenever we have this argument. Like, let's look at, for example, Christianity, which talks a
okay.
lot about giving things to others, and oh, this life doesn't really matter. It's only a test for our soul to be judged to see where we're going in the afterlife. But then you look at the church's money, and it takes a turn. Let's not forget that this is the same organization that in the 15th and 16th century literally took bribes to send your soul to heaven,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Oh, that's no,
People are scum and they are greedy. We are short-minded assholes.
but yeah, basically, in the blog post, we talk about a lot of this stuff. We talk about how, yeah, like obviously it is very important to us, and it's something that I, always advocate for is, the usage of having solar panels at your houses. Obviously, moving away from fossil fuel burning cars, because it is, not a sustainable practice. And that is a very important thing to have in mind, is that having, becoming sustainable, and having sustainable practices does not equal, ending global warming. That is something that is very important to remember. It is a step in it, but it's not the solution of it.
Yeah, it's not the end all be all.
It's not, if everybody switches from, internal combustion engine cars and switches to electric cars, that is not going to magically solve, global warming. And the reality is that
Yeah,
I still don't, in my mind, it's insane that there's people who still deny global warming, because the reality is that it's fucking hot outside. Obviously, that's a
like
very shitty way to put it, but it's true. Like, every year you can notice it, you can physically feel that it's getting warmer. It's impossible to ignore it at this point.
if I'm not mistaken, like let me check this out before I say something stupid. But if I'm not mistaken, the um, the vehicles that produce the most amount of CO2 emissions are not even cars. It's private jets and cruises.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, have you seen the fucking size of them? I mean, cruisers, cruise ships, or like the cargo ships. They are huge. They have engines that are bigger than, I think, both of our houses
Let me check.
combined. It's insane. Now, what I thought you were gonna
Okay,
say
this.
is that this year, I believe it was like July 4th, if I remember. I mean, at the time that I wrote this blog, it's been a while now. July 4th had been the warmest day on average
Yeah.
on Earth in 125,000 years. If that doesn't scare the shit out of you, then I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Okay, here it is.
scary.
Domestic flights and long haul flights are the ones that produce the most secondary effects from high altitude non CO2 emissions. The one that produces the most CO2 emissions here is damn it, cars, one passenger cars actually, with four passenger cars being like fifth place.
Yeah,
I don't remember where I saw this.
yeah, because like they're like organizing it like by person, right? Like
Yeah.
for example, obviously, like hypothetically speaking, like a bus is gonna be less like fuel efficient than like a
Yeah.
car, right? Because I mean they're diesel engines, and they most of them are like unfortunately not that well like looked after, at least in like Portugal. As like you fucking look at them and the sound they make and the constant weird noises they make, you're like that engine is
Is
holding on
dead.
to dear life. And
Like,
but the
yeah, I
reality
was
is
just
that because
checking.
the amount of people that they actually transport, it ends up, if you think of it like per capita, it's going to be way more efficient than an actual car, because a car can, at most, usually like an actual car, something that can be considered a car, can usually only at its maximum take like 7 people, right? Like
Yeah.
those like MPVs, or like an SUV that has like 3 rows, and that doesn't compete with a fucking bus. Like it really can't.
Okay, so in terms of grams of CO2
Hmm.
per person per kilometer traveled,
Hmm.
in first place you have average Victorian car. I'm guessing that means car that
Victorian
use
car,
fuel. Yeah. I
huh?
I'm guessing that means car that use gas.
From
This is an
Never heard that
English
fucking term.
article, so
It's like the car
okay.
from the
Then
Victorian era. I don't know.
after that is a Tesla Model S, Victorian grid. I don't know. So with the Victorian car, we went from 243.8 grams.
Mhm.
Tesla has 209.1 grams. And then we have the third most pollutant vehicle. Do you want to guess what it is?
I don't know.
Motorcycles at 119.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we are talking about a 90-gram reduction here.
Right. No, the thing is, like, obviously, there's a lot of critique when it comes to electric cars, and the reality is that most people who critique electric cars are usually people that are, fans of, like actual like car enthusiasts, which are obviously very purist, and they obviously love, combustion cars, and they're
Yeah,
usually their opinion on electric cars is a little clouded. As a person
very
who,
biased. This,
as a
I think that's what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, it's like their judgment is clouded by that, and the reality, and their opinion is very biased. And as a person who also loves combustion cars, I'm a huge fan. And you, Alpha, you're a fan of motorcycles, so you're also a fan
Yeah.
of carbon consuming things.
And
Uh,
then go brr.
uh, but
I'm sorry.
the reality is that I can recognize that it's not something that's sustainable. It's something that is fun, but it can't stay. I mean, everything good
Yeah.
has to come to an end, unfortunately. And the reality is that obviously the critiques put onto electric cars do have their fair share of correct critiques,
You
which
know.
is usually has to do with the batteries, has to do with the fact that batteries are very they
You
pollute a
know.
lot, and that you can't really like the way that you produce them is fucking horrendous, right?
Yeah.
But the reality
Like
is that it's something that is a technology which we have not
perfected.
perfected. And the reality is that when it comes to internal combustion engine cars and vehicles, we've pretty much reached a almost perfect form, right? It's been 100 years of engineering from hundreds of different companies, a crap ton of what's the word of competition, which
Oh
obviously
yeah.
competition breeds innovation. So it's a very competitive space, right? When it comes to
It
electric
is
cars,
extremely competitive.
yeah. The reality is, when it comes to electric cars and electric vehicles, we're still very much in an awkward phase, right? We're still very much in the teenage era where everybody's still.
Teenage. We're in the baby bitch
I mean,
era.
I wouldn't say it's that 10 years ago, yes, but not nowadays. But it's we're still very much trying to understand how to do it. There's still a lot of different technologies when it comes to there's like different types of electric cars. There's hydrogen fuel cell electric cars. There's
Yeah,
electric
there
cars
is
where
I think Kawasaki is trying to develop a hydrogen-based motor for motorcycles, which I think is really dope.
there's for example electric cars which have the ones that we usually know, which is like they have like like their electric engines are in the middle of the axle, but then there's another technology which, instead of there being an axle, there's the electric motors are directly attached to the wheels, right? Which, in terms of packaging, which, can change the shape of cars as we know them and can create very unique different structures. So again, we're very much in a situation where there's still a lot to figure out, right? And I
And
think
we
that,
are doing it. We are figuring it out.
and the reality
But
is that,
people are just really like they expect cars to really be at the point where
yeah,
gasoline cars are.
they're going to be as fun, as intuitive, etc., but they won't. We're still developing it, and obviously I understand the whole critique around batteries, but there's also a second issue with that, is that battery production can be way more sustainable and way less polluting if we wanted to, or not we, if the companies wanted to. But the reality is that it's more profitable to not be that way. That's another thing you have to keep in mind. It's the exact same issue when it comes to oil burning and all that shit, is because for them it's much more cost effective to create new batteries than take old batteries and try to rebuild them, try to repair them, try to recycle. And that is the truth, unfortunately. I'm not saying that every car company is doing that, but most of them are. I mean, I hate to constantly talk about Elon Musk, because at this point I'm even getting sick of myself for constantly talking about him. But for example, just today,
I disgust myself for
I I,
talking about Elon Musk.
I saw a report on Tesla, and the reality is Tesla is going down the shitter. Like they haven't launched a new model in years. They constantly make promises which they never uh, deliver on. And the reality is that there was a survey which is very interesting, a survey that said that 23% of people who said that they wouldn't buy a Tesla is not because of the cars being bad, or because of their build quality being bad, or the fact that they're running over children, or the fact that their batteries just decided to become combustion engines.
Or the
um,
fact that if you put a dent in it, you gotta pay for a whole new car.
Yeah, or the fact that the customer, experience is horrendous, because if you have any complaint, they'll essentially sue the fuck out of you, or they'll make you sign an NDA so that you can't talk about the issues.
Which is never a good sign.
Or the fact that they internally had an entire division based on programming the car's battery, like a percentage showing thingy, incorrectly, so that the range that it would show is much higher than it actually is. But no, it's the way that Elon has been going. It's just been acting. Literally, 23% of people answered that the way that Elon is the reason why I don't want to buy it. Not because of the cars, just
Great
because of
smart
the fact
way.
that Elon is the way that he is, which
Is it
is,
big?
I can honestly, that's my first response. Probably is the fact that I don't want to support a man like Elon. But
Yeah, like
that's
no, screw that guy.
like, obviously, if you're gonna buy a car, you're buying into,
I
you're
won't. But
giving money to a multi-million dollar company, which, the last thing they need is more money. So you're always, sort of feeding the capitalist system, right? Whether
it's
you
always
want it
it
or not.
always go back to capitalism.
The only way that you can do that is by, I don't know, building your own car, or by buying a secondhand car. But still,
Yeah,
then.
which is like building your own car is not a good idea. Buying a second-hand car, people already do that.
But I don't know if you could hear me sip there, but I hope not.
I could.
But
We'll
shit.
bleep that out.
But now you will listen to it and you will like it. No, but the reality is that,
Huh? What?
huh? The reality is
Huh?
that if you're going to, try to, it's the simple aspect. If you have to choose between two evils, at least choose the lesser one. You know what I mean? That's kind of my
Yeah.
logic. At least fall. For example, like, I'm gonna be biased here. I'm gonna be totally honest. I really like Mercedes. My family has always had Mercedes cars, and I like them purely just visually. I think they're cool. I mean, not lately.
Yeah.
The electric ones are pretty ugly, but regardless, that's not the point of this podcast. The reality is that they, for example, have made a promise of creating a fully carbon neutral production line, which is really cool. I mean, that's pretty awesome. The fact that they have done that, and just today I saw a report that they have partnered with some company that I have no idea who the fuck they are, to create CO2, like, free car paint, basically car paint that isn't, using, that it doesn't harm the
You're,
environment.
I'm sorry, but you're. It seems that you're enjoying the expression "you know a lot" today.
I I don't know, man. I'm tired, man. Shit has been going wrong, man. I don't know, man.
I know.
But reality is that, yeah, it's you gotta keep in mind, and you gotta try to see either one, which what type of lifestyle do you want to have, but also you need to keep in mind that, you can't really just do whatever the fuck you want because there's going to be repercussions, and the reality is that, you know, you just gotta be careful when you come to that shit. But the reality is that it's not the biggest of deals because you have a bunch of rich fuckers which are destroying the planet as we know it, and they are the ones that we should be holding accountable for.
But
And
because they are rich, they
yeah,
won't.
and the problem is that
God bless you.
they're constantly buying in, not buying in, that's not what I meant, but they're constantly paying, you know, politicians, known as
Lobbying.
lobbying, or in Europe known as corruption. Um, it's been this true,
Here we
bro.
describe it as crime.
Here is described as a crime known as corruption. In the US, it's known as lobbying, which is fun and cute.
Oh, I'm just lobbying, you know. It's cute, it's
I'm
funsies.
just
I do it with my
giving nice
friends.
donations. I'm just giving you large donations for no reason. Look at the
I'll really like you. There
but
you go. Get some money.
But the reality is that, you know, if it weren't for all that shit, if it weren't for all the corrupt politicians, and regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're talking about, you know, there's
Yeah.
corrupt
Just people
politicians
suck everywhere.
from each side. The reality is that, you know, we as the people, I'm going to be a little communist here. We as the people,
We the people.
we the people have the power to vote on people that can truly make a change, and that is what we should do. We need to make sure to advocate for, you know, to
The
fix
changes
these
that we
issues.
want.
We need to we need to recognize that the all the propaganda that we've been sold for the last, you know, 15-20 years on this idea of the personal carbon footprint, which is, you know, a good stepping stone, you know, to becoming a more sustainable planet. But the reality is that that is not the issue at hand. We need to recognize that that's not the issue at hand. We need to fight against the big corporations, which, you know, constantly fuck us, bend us over and fuck us in the ass, and then, you know, still
Okay.
want us to please them. I'm sorry, that was the weirdest fucking analogy I could have given.
It
But I mean,
was.
it is how it feels, honestly. It's just like, at
You
this
would be an
point,
expert in that department, wouldn't you?
what the fuck, Alpha? What the? I don't even know how to respond to that. But
Don't. Don't just shut up.
regardless if I say yes or no, it sounds weird. But anyways, the point is that yeah, we need to be able to recognize that, hey, we as people, we can do something, and that is not by recycling. That is only something that we can do as, you know, it's part of what should be part of our morals, and not exactly something that's like, oh, we must do this. No, it's something that you should do because deep down you know it's the right thing to do. But we should, you know, band
The
together and
action
realize
justifies itself.
the reality is that these large companies are really screwing up the planet. And in fact, I don't have to really go further than just explaining that. For example, I found out the other day that Shell, the oil company, apparently ordered people to get murdered, and that they did it. They actually killed people, like with hitmen and shit. I don't know if it was,
Uh-huh.
yeah, because they apparently
Can
were
you can you
against
show me
their.
a source?
I don't remember. Don't quote me on me this, by the way, but I'm pretty sure I
Yeah,
remember.
be careful with quoting on that.
I don't want to get murdered by Shell.
You also don't want to make allegations that might not be true, because misinformation is a bitch.
Yes. Oh boy. Investigation shell for complying in murder, rape, and torture. I mean, they're at least being.
Allegedly. How
Uh,
fun.
I mean, they're being investigated for it. Don't, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean,
A huge grain of salt,
it
like a
is
bucket of salt.
it is very clear that, you know, these oil companies are willing to do anything. And I mean, you don't really have to look any further than the fact that what, you know, what the US has done in the last, like, you know, century, all over the world, which is anytime that a country is slightly more, you know, socialist or communist, that they'll invade them trying to
Okay.
justify it for, you know, saving democracy, which is hilarious. And then usually in a lot of cases they also have, you know, they also are being backed by oil giants, because in a lot of those countries there's also, you know, oil reserves that they need to get to. So, you know, it's yeah, it's horrendous, it's depressing, it's sad. And the fact that, you know, we
Makes me
constantly,
sad.
yeah, I don't even know, I don't even have the words to describe how how depressed it makes me feel. But yeah, it's
It actually doesn't make me sad. It makes me mad. Makes me livid. It
I
makes me
mean, I don't
want
know.
to break the Geneva Convention
Okay,
with
Alpha.
some people.
Okay, Alpha. Okay, Alpha. Chill, chill the fuck out. Anyways, I think that we can move on to the other funny ass topic that we have
Yeah,
for today, which is
yeah.
we're gonna talk about aliens. Yeah.
Everyone get your tinfoil hats.
Get your tinfoil
It's time.
hats. We're gonna
It's
be
time.
talking. It's conspiracy theory time. It's a new segment that we decided to do where we completely throw away our entire purpose, the entire purpose of this blog. This podcast. Why do I keep fucking that up? I don't get it. This we're gonna fuck it, forget what everything that's Politdigm is about, and now we're gonna do fuck. I can't even do the joke. Conspiracy theory time. No, we're joking. Never. But yeah. Apparently, aliens are real, and we should believe it because some fucker said so. That's. I think it's. I I
I'm
believe him.
sold.
I'm sold, man. Like I don't really need much more than that. I mean, I'm not a person that usually needs.
He was part of the CIA. My
Yeah.
man, shut up and take my money.
Like, bro, it's yeah. I've never been so excited, to finally, be able to see some hot alien women, and to be able to sleep with them because
Huh?
of course, they are exactly how they are pictured in in pop culture. Therefore, all my dreams are gonna come true. You know what I mean? I don't know
I'm
about
not
you.
gonna comment.
No, I know you're not gonna come because deep down, I know you're also looking for that alien, extravaganza, and I don't know, man. And this.
I'm not. I don't even know what to tell you. I'm just. Ah.
Anyways, let's get to the actual problem here. Uh, in Congress, there was three men who came, who said under oath
Look
that
at that alien ass.
they had seen evidence of UAPs, which I still don't know what the fuck that means. It's just like a new
It's
term
basically
to
the new name for
UFOs.
aliens.
For no,
Yeah.
for UFOs.
Yeah, for UFOs.
Which apparently was coined by the very logical and a very reliable source, which definitely has a reason to exist, which is Space Force. That one thing that Trump made to fight, I don't know, extraterrestrial uh,
I love that.
uh,
I absolutely love
crimes
that.
and war. I don't know for. I remember us being in Star Trek and being invaded by the fucking Klingon or some shit. So wait, so was it UAPs? What does that mean? I don't know what it means, man. Hold on. Unidentified anomalous phenomena. Wow. We really
What
needed a
is
new
that?
name for that. So we had an unidentified flying object, and we went to unidentified aerial phenomena.
Phenomena.
Oh my god.
There's a
No,
difference, you
no.
see.
Apparently, it stood for that until December 2022, but now it's changed to anomalous instead of aerial because yeah, I don't know, man. The reality
There
is
is
that
a difference.
three guys who definitely seem a little shady said to be essentially they're like, oh yeah, we're coming clean. We have evidence of aliens or not aliens, sorry, of uh, 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 organics which are non-human. Don't know.
Which can
Uh,
basically be bacteria,
yeah, and it's like I don't
by
know
the
why,
way.
but it feels a little derogatory. I don't know how to explain it, but
Oh, they're non.
if I were an alien,
If I were an alien,
I wouldn't
I would
fuck with
like to be
that.
identified as a human.
Because we're not here like because any like a fucking dog is a non-human organic. So what the fuck are they
That's it.
like?
They found a dog in space
I don't know, like they watch too much, fucking Love, Death, and Robots, and fucking cats are piloting ships now. I don't know, man.
in Mars.
You guys should watch that show, by the way. I don't
It's
know,
really
it's a good
good.
show. But the reality is that it's yeah. There's no proof. They didn't really show any proof. The only video that they talked about was the famous Tic Tac video, which is like that thing where it looks like a little Tic Tac floating around, and they like shoot it down or some shit. And there's a lot of like people are like, no, this is totally real because they said it on the TV. It's like, okay. This
Sure.
the reality is that think of it in a logical way. The reality is that we know, and we are, we've studied this enough to know that for a species to be able to have contact with other alien
Why did you say
species,
species like that?
I don't know, man. But the reality is that for us, for example, for us as humans to be able to go to other other solar systems and to have contact with other with aliens, we would have to advance technologically by a metric ton of
A
amount.
ton.
Like it's a lot. We're very much not there yet. So what I'm trying to get is that for a civilization to be able to reach Earth, they need to be super technologically advanced. But
And why us?
no, it's not just why us. That it's not even that's not even really what matters. The reality is that they well, first of all they need to be very technologically advanced. That's step
Yes.
one. Two, why is it that when they contact us, it's always in the most pop culture way possible, right? It's always in
Yeah.
the US. They're always super sneaky about it, and they always somehow fuck it up. They somehow always get caught. They're extremely like they're super technologically advanced, but they somehow are stupid as fuck and always get caught, which makes no sense. Because if you really think of it, if you're trying to scientifically fucking observe something, the best way to do it is from afar and to never interact with it. So why the hell would they come down to Earth, interact with it? It makes no sense, right? It just isn't based on anything that would make any sense. And then the reality is that, for example, I saw a funny ass statistic, which was like that, like basically every, UFO, or most UFO sighting reports are always in the US or the UK and never in the rest of the world. Like, I mean, they are in the rest of the world, but it's like considerably, like, it's way less, right? Which is, I wonder why. I wonder
I
why that
wonder
happened.
why. I
So
wonder how.
yeah, it's there's that issue. Then there's also the fact that in the video they describe aliens as being human-like, which is dumb. Like that is something that's essentially you being influenced by pop culture. Like there's no proof that first of all we have no tangible proof that aliens even exist. Mathematically they should, because the probability of that existing is really large, because the universe is so huge that the chance that they don't exist is really small. But the reality is that the way that they describe it is completely unrealistic, and
And
it's
it's weird.
it's
It's like
completely
way too
based.
restrictive and at the same time completely like how do I say this? It's too broad.
Yeah, so
It's the
they're
best way
like
that I can
they're
tell
being
it.
like, hey, we have this thing, we want you to know about this thing, but when you ask about it, we can't tell you. We can't tell you
Give us
anything about
money
it.
so we can protect you against the thing.
And the reality is that, think about it. And then there's another aspect. If you want to get really conspiratorial about it, if you really think about it, these fuckers are saying that they know about aliens, right? And they're trying to tell us that it's supposed to be, like this huge secret, right? First of all, if is this huge secret, all the people that are supposedly really supporting this idea, which are a lot of Congress people, that are from like the far right, which are like Republican, wouldn't they usually be like, oh, this guy's like committing treason, like he's leaking like
Extremely sensitive information.
information about our government? Isn't this guy like a traitor of the state? But no, they're like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, this is awesome. So that doesn't make sense.
We
And the
must protect
reality,
the truth.
and the reality is that in a lot of situations that we've seen in the past, organizations like the CIA and the general government of the United States are not afraid to fucking kill somebody if they have too much information. So why is it that these three guys are just like out there, be like, oh yeah, guys, we know about aliens and the government's lying to you? It's like, bro, no, they would have never gone that far. That's
They
probably the
would have
reality.
never got into the hearing.
Yeah, like they would have shown up with like suicide notes, and it would have been hella weird that they suddenly decided to kill themselves, right? It's this is very sounds very like very much like a conspiracy theory, but the reality is that it's happened in the past, where there is has happened where when it's when it's not the interest of the state, the US is very happy to kill people. So why is it that these three random guys that nobody has ever heard of before are suddenly like so protected by everybody that should be trying to stop them,
They
right?
really like them.
They're just really cool guys. They're just really funny guys.
Yeah, they're the
Um,
best. They went to all the barbecues.
but no, so me and Alpha were talking about this before the podcast, and there's a simple solution onto why they be doing this. Why would they be doing this, right? There has to be a why somewhere, and the probability is that what they're trying to cause is panic. First of all, they're trying to cause panic. This idea there is aliens out there which have highly advanced weaponry, which can destroy our current weaponry, and so we need to bump up the military budget, which is
Of
just what
course.
just what the US needs and just what the rest of the world needs, you know? That is definitely what we need to start doing is get even more
More
money into the military.
money.
So that's probably the fruit. That's probably the main reason why is to first of all cause panic because people profit off of people's panic all the fucking time. It's a thing that has happened throughout the entirety of human history. So it's nothing new. And the reality is that in the past, there like even the CIA used to be like, "Oh no, we might have seen aliens," and then they even themselves came clean and be like, "No, yeah, that was bullshit."
Yeah.
So
And also, we're talking about an organization that has literally weaponized mythics of vampires in certain regions of Asia in order to try and have a grip on the resistance that was in that zone.
yeah, so it's the fact that
They
all
tried to weaponize dolphins. They
the,
gave dolphins acid to see if they could learn English.
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, what?
And it was,
It's pretty
and
shit.
also this is gross, and I'm sorry. They made one of the scientists, a female scientist that was caring of the dolphins. They made her masturbate one of the male dolphins.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Yeah, I mean, anything that's done to animals is really cruel.
Yeah. And
Um,
after the whole process was shut down, the dolphin basically killed himself because he
it
didn't
was
have his
depressed.
handler anymore.
Yeah, it was like depressed and shit. Yeah, I
So yeah,
mean,
we're talking about that type of organization.
yeah. So they're not afraid of to do insanely inhumane shits to get whatever the fuck they please. So it's crazy. First of all, it's crazy the idea that what they're saying is real, and that there's so many quote unquote benefits to what they're saying is not being to not being real or that they want to sell this idea of this being real because again guess what they're literally like what they're trying to hint at in the moment in their like hearing at the Congress is literally what they're saying is like these are highly advanced weaponry that these aliens have and we're not prepared for it and there's only one quote unquote a logical solution for that is we gotta get more money, right? So yeah, no, I find it funny mostly because there's so many people that are like, no, I need this to be real. There's
Like,
aliens. I
it's
know it.
just sad. Let's just
So
be
it's
honest, it's
like
just sad.
it's crazy like how and there's so many people like, no, they said it in Congress. They said it on their oath and it must be real. Yeah, because nobody ever lied under oath. Yeah,
And
sure.
also, let's be real. If aliens were real and this guy just came on television saying this,
Yeah.
the whole scientific community around the world would
Well,
either clutch their pearls or shit their pants.
and plus, like, why is it that we should always believe the crazy military guy? It's always the crazy military guy, let's be honest. It's never like the actual scientist that goes out there
Because
and
in God we trust, and they
it's
are God's soldiers.
I was like when I heard that news I was like, all right, first of all this is bullshit, and secondly the only person I will ever trust with this is when there's like actual scientific articles written about it, actual
And
proof.
it's more than like 10 by
And yeah,
different sources with actual proof.
and actually like shared and published by trusted like scientific universities and shit like that,
Or
and not
scientific
just
organizations that
and,
are
and not
actually
just
trusted.
and not just some random fucker in his mom's backyard like shit who's like obsessed with fucking aliens and then is like clenching his fist like
Like,
no, this needs to be real, I
I'm
need
gonna give
this.
a small tangent about this because I love my tangents.
Yeah, go ahead.
So last century, if I'm not mistaken, the second half of the last century, there was a pair of scientists that tried to achieve cold fusion.
Hmm.
Cold fusion is basically imagine the sun.
Yep.
Now imagine the energy output of the sun. Now imagine that you can have that amount of energy output without having the heat of the sun and the nuclear reactions of the sun.
Yeah, I know what
It's
cold fusion
pretty
is.
much. I know that you know, but if, in
Yeah, yeah,
case one
sure.
of our listeners doesn't, now that is basically a perfect way to have energy.
Yeah,
It's all the pros
any of the
without
cons.
all the cons.
Yeah,
You don't have a nuclear reaction. You don't have extreme heat trying to melt your face off. It's perfect.
it's pretty
And so
nice.
a lot of
I usually
Yeah,
don't enjoy extreme amount of radiation melting my face off. That's crazy, right?
exactly. Chernobyl who? Um,
Whoa.
and so cold fusion was attempted a lot of times, and unfortunately without any success.
Yeah.
And then there was a pair of scientists, I don't remember exactly when, but I know that they claimed that they had been able to achieve cold fusion. They had all the papers and evidence to support it.
Mhm.
This is where scientists
Got a
and
little fishy.
science are at their best because their words weren't just taken at face value. Their experiment was recreated a lot of times in a lot of different labs by a lot of different people that showed that okay, you didn't raise the temperature the supposed hundreds of degrees that you claimed. You raised it by 2 or 3 degrees. So, for something as monumental as there is alien life that is intelligent, humanoid, and on our planet,
Mm.
I highly doubt that there wasn't any kind of reports
Yeah, by like
from
scientific
the
communities.
whole of the scientific community.
Yeah. Which might I add also have radars and different detection systems just like the military, so
No, they do. Have you seen the amount of
I was being sarcastic.
satellites and radars that they have? Oh, sorry, sorry.
I was saying, yeah,
Because there's a
I was like,
yes,
it's
they
not like
do.
it's like, yeah, no shit, they do. Like they have access to the same ones at most times too. So
Exactly. And
it's
we're talking about the discovery and confirmation of another species of
yeah,
intelligent life. Do you get how monumental that is?
it's not just some random fucker going on TV like, hey guys, so I saw these weird things and
Yeah.
there's aliens.
And
Like
it
no,
was
like
it was a former intelligence officer. It
yeah,
wasn't the president of the United States or the head of NASA. It was a random Joe Schmo who
which
basically
which
presented hearsay,
yeah.
which can't be proven like that because you can just say, "Oh,
I
you're
mean,
lying." Like,
he used to be a pilot on F-15s. Maybe just the G's just fucked up his brain, man. Like that's
yeah, he had one too many strokes.
yeah, to one too many like launches, and his brain just got like permanently like
Yeah,
damaged. Like his like
he
back
tried to
lobe,
eject and crash his head
like
against the
like
windshield, but
like
instead of
his
like being
like
like
his
goose, he just got a brain hemorrhage.
like when he was going fast, right, his brain would like get so compressed at the back of his skull that it just like stayed like that, and now he just
Yeah,
like sees shit. He has like images. He has visions, right? And one of these visions is first of all being smart, and the secondly is
yeah.
aliens whilst he's
Just a
flying.
small side note, I actually have a lot of respect for pilots.
Yeah. Just not
Yeah, just not
crazy
that kind.
just crazy ass people who probably have
Like, would never be able to
secondary.
fly a
Just
plane. I would be turning to mush.
but yeah, it's hilarious that that these people are trying to sell this idea.
Like,
Um,
when I first saw the news, I was like, I was sitting on the couch next to my sister, and I was like, "Yo, you are never gonna believe this, aliens!" And she just looked at me and went, "Okay." And
okay. All right. Proof. Give me the proof, please. Give me proof.
exactly.
I want proof,
And then I
please. And
had
I
some
like,
time to digest it, and
yeah, I didn't even believe that when I saw it for the first time. I was like, yeah, right, okay.
ain't no way,
And I
ain't
just
no
no,
way.
I didn't even have like a proper reaction. I was there like, yeah, no. I just
That's
moved
really
on with my life. I was like, and it's funny because like a lot of people like on the internet are like all just like their main reaction is like, yeah, like nobody gives a fuck like right now. Like we have much larger shit to worry about than
yeah.
aliens, right? Unless they're like a huge threat to our civilization, which they don't seem to be because they never seem to really interact with us, at least in a meaningful capacity.
In Buttfuck, Alabama, on some farm stealing cows.
Yeah, and like making crop circles because they're really like they're just artistically frustrated, right? They need our grain, like they need our fucking cereals. They need our plants to fuck with to be able to represent their
I
internal
still can't get
artistic
over the fact that
needs.
the Nazis invented ancient aliens theories. I'm sorry. Like,
Fact,
I'm sorry I
was
learned
that like
that.
episode 2 or some shit? I don't even remember anymore.
Yes, it's like episode 2.
But
Like,
yeah, I know it's
uh,
crazy.
yeah.
There's another thing.
Stuff that the conservatives say. And speaking of conservatives, we have another topic, don't we?
Do we do? I don't remember
We
anyway.
do.
Go
The
ahead.
animations.
The
The
anime.
school
Oh yeah,
animations.
right. Yeah, we talked. That was something we want to
We
talk
gotta
about.
talk about this. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you'll be more knowledgeable on this than me, so why don't you go ahead?
To be fair, I haven't looked much into it, but it is something that I'm very aware of, so I'm fine with talking about it. But yeah, if you don't know, we have our great, our biggest enemies is like what was what's like that one thing that we talked about, like the opposite of Politdigm. Yeah, it's basically what with PragerU is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so PragerU is like this conservative like I don't even know, like media outlet sort of. I don't even know what to consider them. But basically they
What
like
called
create,
Prayer US?
huh?
What are they called?
PragerU.
PragerU?
Yeah.
How do you write that?
It's because Prager is like the last name of the creator, and U I it's probably university because it's supposed to be like an educational thing, right? It's
Oh god,
pray.
that's so much worse.
Yeah, it's pray Praguer, I think. Prager. I don't know. But basically it's yeah, it's this organization which basically does the opposite that we do. Creates conservative propaganda, which
Originally make leftist propaganda.
when we I don't even know I mean, I guess if you look at the definition of propaganda, yeah, I guess we do. But yeah, we try to, be helpful and they try to be hateful. Uh, and so
They
they
are hateful, we are helpful. This is
and
Paradigm.
and they're basically like their whole main, spiel, their whole thing right now is this idea of like, yeah, we need to protect the kids because if the kids learn about gay people, they're gonna turn gay, and if the people turn gay, the gay people are gonna overthrow the government, and we're all gonna die because that's what they
They are
think.
gaying our kids.
They are
Bottom
gay.
text.
They are gaying the kids, and I am scared to be around gay people because if I'm around gay people for too long, I will become gay because I secretly like men.
Yeah, it's the
Anyways,
gay people that are making me man.
yeah, it's like it's the gay people who make me like men, not me liking men. But yeah, they basically who these are the people who constantly are, pushing for this idea that like the LGBT community is trying to indoctrinate children, etc. Whilst they in Florida, it was just approved that they can show PragerU kids. It's like a weird, like sort of morbid, like TV series, like animated little animated shorts, right? What they
Yeah.
basically are like, like they're representing these insane conservative like
You want to give like
ideals.
some clips out of context?
Yeah, like saying that. I mean, the one we said before recording the podcast, which was like, oh, George Floyd, who was how do you say it?
Yeah,
Um,
a black man was murdered while after resisting arrest, and after uh, and I'm so-
yeah, it's too bad. But yeah, there's other
and
ones which is
after
like,
protests sprouted, falsely claiming racial inequality.
oh yeah, and there was another one which was really funny, which is like this.
Jeez,
You see
a black man.
a black man talking to these two white children, right? And basically, the black man is saying to these white children, like, "Oh God, hey, you're just kids. It's not your
No, no, no.
fault."
First of all, the children apologize, and then the black man says, "No, no, no. It's never the fault of future generations for the past mistakes."
And it's like I mean he's not wrong, right? It's not it's not me who like caused, racism, but I need to be aware that racism exists for it to be fixed, quote unquote. And we need to be aware that it's a thing that exists and not just be like, oh no, yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, it's not my fault, so it doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
Also, the stereotypes, like for example, they had this whole story about a Mexican family which had a restaurant in Mexico. Then they had to leave because guess what? Like legit, try to guess it. Why did they leave?
I don't know, drug cartel probably, or some
You
shit
are
like that.
goddamn right.
Yeah, I am. Jesus Christ.
Like literally, the story is that the cartel went to them and said, "Yo, give us our money for protection," and they said, "Let's go to the U.S."
But then they won't let them in. I mean, did they? I don't know. I didn't
Yeah, they
watch
got the green cards, which is the most
unrealistic thing about that story.
unrealistic thing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
story.
Exactly. But no, it's insane. Like the idea that that these people who supposedly are like, yeah, we need to stop indoctrination of the kids, are the ones indoctrinating the kids. I don't know what the fuck this accent was, but yeah, it's insane. It's sad. It's I it just pisses me off. It's like I don't even know how
It
to
makes
explain
me
it because
depressed.
it's like I don't know. I want to kind of in the same talk about the best example that I think I saw it today or yesterday night, which was this gay man who was talking, which was responding to a comment on his TikTok video. The comment said like, "Oh, I support queer rights, but I don't think that kids should know certain things or that kids shouldn't be learn teach certain things." And he started talking about his experience in school, which really touched me. Not because I particularly, you know, see myself in it, because I never experienced what he did, but because purely I am a person who is very, like empathetic. No, I have a lot of empathy for people, right? And
Empath.
so, and so, and so when I heard that story, I was like, bro, that's horrendous. Like I would never want anybody. I wouldn't want my worst enemies to go through that shit. Where his entire childhood, he was constantly made fun of. He was constantly made fun of during times which he himself wasn't even, he doesn't even know he himself was gay, right? Just because he was slightly different. These kids were constantly making fun of him. And there were points in his life where he just would go home and wish every night that God would make him straight. And he was basically telling like, yeah, I agree with you. Kids shouldn't learn certain things, and kids shouldn't learn to hate people. They shouldn't learn all these things. Like they shouldn't learn to to judge people for being different, for hurting them for being different, and all these different things. And it's true. Like the basic thing that is being critiqued that the queer community is doing is simply by saying that queer people exist, and that is it. They're not teaching anybody how to have gay sex. They're not teaching anybody how to be trans. They're not doing anything like that. They're simply saying queer people exist. People that are quote unquote different from you exist, and you should recognize that. You should be able to look at those people and understand that they're different and respect that. That is it. It is the most basic shit, and it doesn't even have to be related to the queer community. It just has to do with every other minority group ever, right?
There is a small verse in one of my favorite songs, which is literally, we are not the same, and for that we should embrace. Because if everyone was the same, life would be so much more boring.
Yeah, and it's
And queerness and like who you love and who you are is just an expression of yourself. Why should people be treated worse and below like human level because of who they love?
it's something that I hate so much when people are like, "Oh, but back in my day, nobody like there's no gay people, nobody talked about it." Yeah,
It's
because
not
people
true. Oh my god.
because first of all, that's not true. Second of all, people were afraid back then. People would get killed. They still get killed today. The reality now, it's more talked about, and people are more aware of it. Of course, that when people are more aware of things, they seem to suddenly exist more. But the reality is that it hasn't really. It's not how it works. In fact, there was this kid about my age, I guess our age, right? He like did like these street interviews on like a Republican, like I don't even know, festival. I have no fucking idea what it was. If it was like a rally, I have no clue. The reality is that he asked this man what was the percentage of people in America that he thought were trans, and he said some shit like it's 20%, which is insane. That is an insane amount. Which I will Google the amount right now, but I believe it's around 1 or less than 1% of the American people. And from 20 to 1% is a huge fucking difference. It's still a lot of trans people, but it's way less trans people. And that's the thing,
There
is like,
are currently wait, let me
I mean,
check.
depends on, like, you need to remember like what what demographic they're talking about, because some, depending on if it's like people from like like 13 to 25, it's going to be a different value, right? So
Yeah.
um like for example, apparently in young adult it's like 5%, but that's not, America is not young adults, just, so
Yeah. Percentage of
oh,
young.
all apparently is 1.6 in the U.S. Young adults are mostly likely to be transgender, but then here has like a thing which says that in ages from 18 to 29, it's 5.1%. From 30 to 49, it's 1.6. From 50 plus, it's 0.3, which all comes together to 1.6 apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
all the graphs that I'm getting is knowing trans people not actually being trans, which is kind of stupid. Because I don't want to know how much trans people are known. I just want to know
no,
how
this
much
one, I mean,
are
if you look at
trans.
the thing, but yeah, it's regardless, it's not at that huge
Why am I
amount.
getting an HIV study as the first
Yeah,
site? What the
that's
fuck?
that's weird. Reality, regardless of what the values are, the reality is that people's opinions and their perception on reality is constantly skewed by media, and these people that constantly are fed propaganda every fucking day to hate trans people have an completely fucked perspective of how the world is. It is completely false, and thinking that 20% of the American population is trans is crazy. That is,
And what if it was?
I mean, it could be
Yeah, who
if there wasn't
cares?
discrimination and people truly felt comfortable with it, and we reached, like like that graph of like left-handed people that like it went up exponentially and then it like hit a flat spot and hasn't gone
Yeah.
up or down since. Like that's going to happen with queer people. That is literally, it's going to be the exact same thing where there's going to be a moment in time where finally everybody feels comfortable to be queer, and it's just not going to go up. And if that is 20% when it comes to the trans people, then maybe it is 20%, but it's not the reality that we live in right now, right? And that's the thing, is like people think
Yeah.
that somehow, first of all, the idea that, that queer people are taking over is hella weird, because like, first of all,
Great
why
replacement theory,
first of all,
but with the gays.
it's like first of all is like, where's the evidence for that? And secondly, even if that is happening, what is so bad about it? It's like, that's what I don't get. But okay, it's like, oh
Having a gay person in your neighborhood doesn't make you gay. It doesn't threaten you or your children. It's a person trying to be a
yeah,
person.
if
What's so
if
wrong with
if
that?
being near a gay person threatens you in the way that it makes you question your sexuality, then maybe you're the problem. You need some therapy, man.
But God didn't made the man and the woman. So, yeah, no shit. Also, for that logic, God also made animals, and animals do be certainly gay. So
Yeah, true. Animals do be
the
fucking
amount
gay.
of giraffes that have homosexual sex is larger than giraffes that have straight sex. So
I mean, yeah, like isn't like lions who have like sex with other males just to prove that
yeah,
one is like more male than the other? That's pretty gay. It's
that's
pretty gay. I mean,
pretty sure I saw that in some porn somewhere.
it's funny,
Uh,
you know. It is pretty funny how like there's so much like macho men culture stuff, which if you really think about it, is so queer coded. Just like
yeah.
the idea
Look
of
at the
like
Greeks.
it just, yeah, like just it's kind of like that. It's like, just imagine just like a full locker room of sweaty buff men just looking at each other and admiring each other's physiques. How is that not hella gay? I find that pretty gay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think, it's awesome, but like,
Yeah,
but it's
as
just,
said by one of my favorite YouTubers, Bricky. There is nothing hotter than two attractive gay men.
it's funny because like it's exactly those people who will be in a locker room, full, just covered in sweat, a bit like the smallest towel around their waist, and admiring each
Or
other's
no
physique,
towel at all.
who will almost have a guttural physical reaction to when you even slightly joke at the idea that they could be gay. They'll be like, no, no, I'm not gay, I'm not gay, I'm not gay, I'm not gay. It's like, bro,
Do you see
chill.
my penis fully flaccid?
My penis is, look at my penis, look at my penis. Bro,
Look
I'm
at
gonna prove you that I'm not gay. Look at my dick. It's like, whoa. It's like, yeah, it's It's such
Uh,
a people are so backwards, man. It's crazy, dude. It's
yeah.
I see
Well,
all the time. Like there's a I'm gonna I probably he probably won't mind, but like there's a story that my best friend, right, that Mad Dog has told me, where there's like this guy in his class or some shit, or used to be in his class, which is like was like the most homophobic guy in his entire class, right? And he was the guy who like at one day he like in the locker room asked to see my best friend's muscles or some shit. He wanted to see my best friend's body to see if he was like buff enough. Or like my best friend was there like, hey, what the fuck? Aren't you like the guy who's like extremely homophobic? Why are you like so obsessed with seeing my physique right now? What is up? What's happening right now? That was such a funny story. I was like, what the fuck, bruh? It's like, let me see
who would
you.
have said uh wait, homophobia? Jesus Christ. Who would have thought that homophobia came from a place of male insecurity?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Shocking.
Same as misogyny, but
Could
that's a
have
story
could
for
have
another time.
could have never guessed. Anyways, I have a ending topic, just real quick topic, which I don't really
Oh
know
god.
much about. I don't much about what the fuck much
Much
about, but it's something that I remember when we were talking about the aliens, which is just a little fun science fact, which I find cool, or I don't really find cool, but it's not even really a fact, but something fun, sciencey news, which is that apparently in I think South Korea there was a study which was published about a room temperature superconductor, which, if
Oh,
proven true, would be basically a huge revolution to our entire electronics, industry. Because basically, you wouldn't need fans. You wouldn't need every electrical system would become hella small. You wouldn't need like cooling fans on PCs. You wouldn't need all these different things. You could have like you could have like
in
super
batteries, you could have batteries that don't overheat.
yeah, you could have like quantum computers in your fucking living room, because the problem with quantum computers is that they run extremely hot. They need to be like literally submersed in water at like all times to like not overheat, and they still do. So having a room temperature superconductor could mean that we could have like a fucking quantum computer in my fucking living room and shit like that. So if it is proven true, I did see a bunch of reports in it which basically said that, oh, apparently there was like a competition to see like who could post that finding first or some shit. So like the current like article that's like posted is like very not very
Bare bones.
conclusive. It's very bare bones, so there's like a little like suspicion to it, right? But if it is like it is in all our interest
That
for
would
it to
be
be
a
true,
whole revolution.
it would be a revolution. Like there's a shit ton of like stuff that would completely change, right? And I hope it's true. It would be really cool if it is true.
I'm hyped.
I might, like, yeah, it's like just the idea of having like you'd be able to have like basically silent like gaming PCs. Such a dumb example. No, but it's true. Like
that's
the
that's where your mind goes.
no, but the concept
Gaming
of like,
PCs.
I mean, bro, thermal throttling would be gone, man. No, it would be a very it would innovate our entire understanding of how we work with our
Yeah.
electronics, and it would be super good. It would be an actual like sort of like like a revolution when it comes to like
Imagine
how,
the amount of electricity and the amount of
yeah, we would
heat
save this.
production that we would cut.
It's like in terms of even the environment, which is I know why I wanted to bring it up. In terms of just the environment and how much like sort of electricity we would save, because of like how much more circuitry would be efficient and less like heat dispersing and all that shit, would be amazing. So yeah, I'm excited for that. We'll talk about that in the future episode of
Yeah.
when I do find out more news. But yeah, let's end the
There
episode.
might be a blog about it.
There could be a blog about it. It's I mean, it has to do with the environment, so we would talk about like the positive impacts on the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, as always, don't forget to support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon, you'll have access to our private Discord. In our private Discord, you can talk directly to us or ask us questions for the podcast Q&A, where you can ask us directly questions which we will answer on the podcast, on this section of the podcast, obviously. And yeah, basically, and also if you support us, it's a nice gesture, because we want to be able to sort of expand our operations, and if we can do that, we can also give you better content. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Remember, everyone, profits over people.
God damn it, Alpha. No, it's people over profits. Uh, but yeah, yeah, so if you want to help us, support us on Patreon. If you want to
Yeah.
support other people, if you go to our website, we also have a list of like charities that we support. We're trying to make it larger, so if you also have other charities which you think we should support, make sure to message us on like our social media or email or send us an email or message us through our website, whatever. But we are always open to learn about more charities. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Anything you would
Yeah.
like to say, Alpha?
No, I think we
Like
have talked about everything.
a finishing message, a message of a moral of the story of this episode, or
Sure,
some shit.
moral of the story, corporate greed is a bitch, the environment is dying, we should do something about it. It isn't like bare bones, just, oh yeah, metal straw grew brr.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all on next week's episode. And don't forget to read the
Yeah.
vlogs. Don't forget to read them. We put a lot of time into them, so
Yeah, we'll put a lot of work into that.
it's a lot more work than sitting down for an hour and talking. It's a lot of research and all that. So yeah,
And trying to write comprehensively, which isn't that easy.
yeah. When you're two dumbasses, which can barely speak, but
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.